495. Proposal Arthur being present, will the co-chair please read the title?
The title is Approval Voting, an Updated Democracy.
Arthur, you're recognized for 4 minutes. You may proceed.
Cowin y soy de Nuevo Mexico. Thank you, Chair. I reserve the right to yield any remainder of my time to my closing summation.
That is your right.
Delegates of Washburn, please take a trip to me to the wonderful land of Produceville. It's election season, and from the esteemed Fruit Party, we have Mr. Apple running for president. Against him, from the slightly less esteemed party, the Veggie Party, we have Mr. Squash. As we head to the election, Mr. Apple's clearly going to be the winner with 65% of the public's approval, while Squash balances a nice 35%. But wait, what's this? From the Independent Party, Mrs. Tomato steps up to run? She seems to share a lot of the same political beliefs as Mr. Apple, but runs as an independent. Over the course of campaigning, she talks over about half of his voters. And after Election Day, when the votes are counted, Mr. Squash is the new president of Produceville, with only 35% of the approval because Mrs. Tomato split Apple's 65 to 33, and she took 32. How is that democratic? How is that even right? And how would we even fix that? Let me tell you how we'd fix that. All you would have to do is change 2 easy words on that ballot. You would change it for vote for one to vote for one or more. It's a small step, mind you, but voters that went up on election day would be able to fill out not only the ballot of their first choice, but go down the line of all the candidates that they approved of for president of Produceville. It's a small step because, keep in mind, we'll be keeping the Electoral College intact here. This would only affect the precinct basis and how votes are counted there. It does a lot of good things now for Produceville. There'd be no more spoiler effect, so whoever the majority of the citizens' political alignments are related to best, they would get their victor. More often than not, a more centrist candidate would be elected to president, which means, of course, more compromise, and who doesn't like compromise? And of course, we'd have fewer spoiled ballots because, let me take you back to America 2000, when 2 million ballots had to be thrown away because people thought they could vote in an approval voting system. They marked off more than one because they thought they could. Those 2 million ballots were tossed out and considered spoiled. Now let me tell you, in the year 2000, 2 million ballots could have made a heck of a difference. So, not only would it do that, but voter turnout would skyrocket as 30% of American registered voters are independent and often discouraged from even going to the polls because they believe their opinion does not matter. So not only would the voter turnout skyrocket, but the negative campaigns we have to deal with on a daily basis leading up to Election Day would plummet, because what candidate wants to air a negative campaign ad when it's all about approval? If you look at where this is already in effect around the world, it's already in the Libertarian Party of Colorado and Texas, as well as the Pirate Party in Germany, the Berlin Parliament, and many elections in the United Nations, all of which prove that voter turnout would rise, negative campaign ads would fall, and people would generally just be happier. It's a more pure sense of democracy, and honestly, it's what this country needs. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time to my closing summation.
Thank you, Delegate. You have yielded 40 seconds. The floor is now open for a period of non-debatable technical questions. Are there any non-debatable technical questions on the floor? The chair recognizes the following delegates. I can't see your placard. Turn it. New Jersey, Virginia, Arizona, Missouri, Florida, Louisiana, Florida. Any other questions? Any other questions? Could you turn on the microphone? Turn on the microphone.
Sorry. Carter Couturier, New Jersey delegation. Thank you, sir. Chair. Will each vote be weighted the same, or say a vote for 2 people is one vote worth more than the other one?
Each vote would be worth just the same, one vote.
Thank you, Sir Chair. My name is Courtney Scopus, and I am from Florida. Will this increase the amount of time it takes to count the votes?
This honestly would take no more time, as the election machines can count them just as quickly.
Thank you, Delegate. The next question.
Thank you, Sir Chair. At least for Louisiana, in states where this was implemented, did the public officials elected, did their approval ratings go up?
I don't know if they're...
I'm sorry, Delegate, that's debatable. The next question, please.
Tom Kirk from the Grand State of Missouri. Will this allow candidates from the same party to run in the same election?
No, it would not.
Next question, please.
My name is Bhupna Mahajan. I am from Florida. Author, does one person, one vote still apply to this proposal?
It does apply. One person, one vote refers to the weight of the vote, not how the vote's expressed.
Thank you. The next
Simply
question,
more
please.
expression.
Molly Coe, Commonwealth of Virginia. Will this cost any more money than it does now?
It would not cost a dime, no.
Jordan, Dry Heat State of Arizona. What is the most recent independent voter turnout rate you have from a presidential election?
In the election of 2012, there were 35 registered independents, but not all of them went to the polls.
Any other non-debatable technical questions? Are there any other non-debatable technical questions? The chair recognizes Maryland. Other questions? Wisconsin.
Daniel Gorski of the Maryland delegation. Would this apply to strictly presidential elections or also congressional?
Strictly presidential for now.
Thank you.
Robert Enright, Wisconsin. Does this affect primary elections?
No, it would not.
Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, the Model United Nations. Kentucky. Any other questions? These will be the final questions.
Mason Hill, Kentucky, Sir Chairman. In the Model United Nations, in the United Nations elections when it was it used for Secretary General?
Yes, sir, it was.
Next question.
If you believe in Model United Nations, how would you indicate who your first choice is on the ballot?
You wouldn't. It would just be a bullet vote for whoever you approved of.
Thank you. At this time, the sign-up is now open for proposals 467 and 209. Con and pro intent speeches are open. Please do not bombard the parliamentarian's desk. Just quietly and discreetly make your way over there without any interruption or anything like that. At this time, it is in order for the con intent speech. Is there a delegate who wishes to be heard for the con intent speech? The chair will hear Louisiana. Are you recording? You may come to the front.
Thank you.
Excuse me, delegate. Please try to stay out of the blood fire.
Allison Waddell, Louisiana delegation. My fellow delegates, I am begging you, I am pleading you to rank this high. The reason why? Yes, it's a good idea. However, the voter turnout would be indecisive and ineffective. Negative campaign ads would not diminish because we're Americans, and let's face it, the majority of us have this instinctive, competitive nature. We're born with it, and it can be a good thing, but we just cannot, all in all, delete or deplete negative campaigns. It's a utopianistic idea. I do admire it, however, it's very unrealistic and idealistic. The other thing is the amount of votes per candidate would increase, but nothing in actuality would be done because we're encouraging people to be indecisive and nothing would go on. Thank you. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. As a reminder, two things. First, for timing, we will all do one gavel rap when there are 30 seconds left and two gavel raps when there are 10 seconds left. Along with that, in the General Assembly and plenary session, all ranking is over. The votes are final votes on passage of the proposals. That having been the con intent speech, we now move on to the pro intent speech. Is there a delegate who wishes to be heard for the pro intent speech? The chair recognizes New York. Jenkins.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Alice Jenkins, New York State. There are several reasons that I support this proposal. First, there is more incentive to approve of third-party candidates. And this would be very beneficial in elections such as the Taft-Roosevelt-Wilson election, where the Republican vote was split and the Democrat took the vote even though the majority of the country were Republicans. Additionally, while third parties are rarely elected to major positions, and I don't think that this proposal will change that, their recognition allows for their platforms to be heard, and the main purpose of these third-party elections is to bring up relevant and important issues that the main party candidates do not want to bring up. Let's see, next. I One of the reasons that I am a firm supporter of this is that it doesn't eliminate the electoral college system. Although I do agree that it should be eliminated, and many people have been pushing for the elimination of it. There's simply so much resistance. It's been there for so long, and I think that instead of trying to, make this huge leap to eliminate the Electoral College, this is the perfect first step because it attempts to eliminate some of the problems with our current voting system, and it's a beautiful solution for the moment. And I encourage you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The time for intense speeches having ended, we now move on to general con pro debate. Is there a con speaker on the floor? The chair recognizes Tennessee.
Thank you, Chair.
Please come to the front. At this time, the sign up for proposal 467 and 209 is closed.
Thank you, Chair. Jackson Myers, Tennessee. I'm not necessarily very opposed to this bill, but we're operating on the assumption here in much of the discussion that by doing this approval voting, all of a sudden third parties with this big chance we'd be able to all of a sudden have 4 parties in Congress, which sounds great, and I would be all in favor of that. But it doesn't change the fact that in modern America, elections are still mostly about money, and that candidates and parties who have the money and the notoriety and the media advertising, those are the candidates who get attention, and those are the candidates who get votes. So even if Ralph Nader or Ron Paul or Bob Barr or whatever third party candidate you like would be approved of by a lot of people, people don't know what they say. People won't be able to hear them because no third party candidates can get into debates. We would just have exactly the same thing, but people would be able to vote for both Democrats and Republicans, or the point is, people would not know any more than they do now, and all we would have a confused jumble